Hi Greedy 3Ds, in a previous video I said I would not be buying the Uniformation GK3 Ultra, and I gave my reasons in that video for that. Now I've been sent a GK3 Ultra by Uniformation to see if they can change my mind. Well, let's see what I think. Stay tuned. Now, if the GK2 was Bruce Banner, then the GK3 Ultra is definitely his bigger, greener counterpart. Bigger in every way, that is. But is it any better? After some disappointing shipping delays and some frustrated buyers who ordered in July only to receive their GK3 Ultras some 4 months later, with some still waiting for delivery, and reports on social media that some that have arrived damaged, I'm happy to say that this behemoth has finally landed in the man cave. The first thing to note about the GK3 Ultra is the weight of the thing. My crumbling spine and sciatica reminded me just how heavy it was as I lifted it alone onto the worktop. Coming in at a whopping 30 kilograms, it is not a one-man job to move or lift this thing, so you will definitely need a chuckle brother or sister to help you and make sure you put it where it's going to stay as well, as this printer definitely isn't mobile. To make sure the printer is level wherever you do put it, it's great to see an old-fashioned spirit level on the front right corner and 4 adjustable feet that you really need to make sure are level, as this thing, if tilted, will pile that 1 litre of resin that it holds to one corner of the vat or other, and you certainly don't want that mid-print. The worktop real estate that you need to put aside measures 455mm by 400mm by 575mm in height. The gamma green space-saving vertical hinged cover is back, and this takes up a little space and makes it easier to access the build platform. You'll need to allow a little bit more height on the top to open it fully. Also behind the printer, allow a tiny bit more distance to accommodate the fact that the plug-in Wi-Fi module that fills the vacant USB port lives there. Also, as we're talking about the back of the machine, you will find the power in socket, and thankfully the transformer is built into the GK3 Ultra, so this is literally just a plug-in lead. There is the aforementioned Wi-Fi dongle inserted into a vacant USB slot, and also there's a port a little higher up that allows you to fit that easily fitted air purifier unit, very similar to what the GK2 had. The sides of the machine have no connection of any kind, and on the front of the machine, like its little brother, it's got exactly the same setup with the LCD screen, a USB connection and the on-off switch, all conveniently located on the front of the machine, which is good to see as you really don't want to be reaching around the back of this thing or moving it around to turn something on or off or insert or pull out a USB stick. The GK3 Ultra arrives from the factory pre-levelled, but you are advised upon its arrival to check that it's still levelled, just in case anything has moved during transport. This is a simple matter of placing some paper down on the LCD screen, lowering the build plate down and making sure that the paper is held securely. If any of the paper is loose, you'll need to re-level it, but thankfully how to do this is included on the USB stick that comes with the printer in a video showing you the process. You're also advised to check the humongous LCD screen at this point to ensure that it displays correctly. A quick test will reveal 2 areas only though, so I like to do a full VAT clean cycle test to make sure the whole screen works in its entirety. The screen really is huge, offering a 16K 13.5 inch area, a significant upgrade over the GK2's 8K 10.3 inch screen. So the GK3 Ultra screen is nearly 27% larger, and it provides a resolution of 15120 by 6230 pixels. In response to user demand for larger sizes, Uniformation's behemoth offers a build volume of 300 x 160 x 300, which is double the volume of the previous model, the Bruce Banner GK2. The build plate looks very similar to the GK2, but again, this has clearly had some gamma radiation treatment, hulking it to a massive 12.3 x 7.1 x 2.3 inches, dwarfing the GK2's build plate in its wake. It's a relief also to see the return of the small channel for resin drainage, helping me to keep the man cave free of unwanted drips. To improve the printing performance, the GK3 Ultra boasts ultra-stable Z-axis construction with dual linear rails and a ball screw design. To connect the build plate to this lifting mechanism, we see a familiar lift up and pull down connector, which works well to hold the plate securely. Now, I'm not sure if it's meant to be like this though, but it looks like you can tilt the plate on the connector like the original Haygrees Ultracraft Reflex does, to facilitate resin draining. But like I say, I'm not sure if this is a design implementation or not, so do so at your own peril, as I don't know whether the weight of the build plate and the print will damage the holding mechanism. On the left hand side there is a groove and a lip which is definitely designed to aid resin recovery, but I also note that whilst the build plate is in this position, you cannot close the lid, which I think is a shame, especially if you're not in a dark room or there's a risk of sunlight coming in to have contact with your resin in the vat. The resin vat is a sturdy affair and holds an impressive 1 litre of resin. No GK2 feet seen here, and this one slips easily into place and is held in place by 2 compression sliders, one each side of the vat. Now these work well and hold the vat securely. What's good to see is that Uniformation have not tried to fix something that wasn't broken, as the user interface looks very familiar via a 5-inch capacitive touchscreen. It is fast and responsive and clear to use, and for anyone that has had a GK2 before, it's a welcome sight, I'm sure. Unlike many other printers, I was not prompted to add this to my Wi-Fi network and had to manually find the setting to add this. I would have liked to have seen this done automatically at first setup, and that seems to be the normal now, and a little lazy perhaps not to have included this without the need to hunt for it. But once I'd found the setting connection to my router, it was easy and straightforward, and a quick check on the update revealed that I had an up-to-date OS. Now, whether this will prompt me when a new update is out, I'm not sure, but given that I had to go hunting around for the Wi-Fi settings in the first place, I don't think it will, but you may tell me different. Also, when I pressed the power button for the first time, I was chuffed to see an orange LED light inside. Not only does this look fantastic and aesthetically pleasing, it has illumination to an otherwise dark interior. Now, in the UK, where temperatures, especially in winter, are frostbite inducing, especially those of us that print in man caves outside, one crucial factor that discourages people from using resin 3D printers is the negative effect the cold has on resin viscosity. Now, the GK3 Ultra addresses this issue like its little brother by offering a built-in ceramic heater to warm the printer to 25 or 30 degrees before it starts printing, ensuring the best possible resin heat consistency throughout the printing process. Additionally, a pressurised resin feed autofill refill system has been integrated into the GK3 Ultra, solving the common problem of having an insufficient amount of resin in a large vat for large prints. Its built-in design allows for easy loading and replacement, ensuring prints can continue unscathed when it comes to time to add more resin, as sometimes when printing at these volumes of 1 litre or more, it may not be enough. A resin weight measurement system informs you of the exact amount of resin left in the cartridge, ensuring smooth and uninterrupted printing sessions. My only concern with any kind of resin delivery system is that the resin is not shaken or stirred before being added, and resin can separate. Now, I'd be interested to hear if anyone's had any thoughts on this or any issues or problems with unmixed resin entering the vat. Well, there's no greater test than a printing test, so we're going to use some of this Elegoo ABS-like 3, and I'm going to fill up my resin vat. Now remember, this thing takes 1 whole kilogram of resin, and you can see that I have moved this into a position where I'm going to leave it, and I haven't leveled it, and you can see that it's angled down a little bit, and when it starts to go into the vat of resin, you can see that one part will be higher than the other. This proves again the importance of levelling, and rest assured I did level it after it had finished this print. This is just going to be the Frozen XP test print, and I'm using a 2.5 second exposure time and a 25-second bottom layer for a count of 10 layers, and around about 15-20 minutes later, once the resin had heated up, there it is, stuck to the top of the old build plate. Wonderful, we have print. Whoop whoop. Now you can see where the drainage unit on the side of the printer works, and I'm going to leave it there to drain some of that wonderful resin back into the vat. Again, the only downer with this was you can't close the lid while it's doing it. everything had been drained off, and probably need to reduce my bottom count a bit because it was welded on a little bit. But the end result, I guess it looks a tiny bit overexposed. You can see that the letters there are a little bit more filled in than I'd like to see, and the centre part again looks a little bit overexposed. This is easily tweakable in your slicer of setting. Chitu Box, Lychee and their very own GK slicer will work wonderfully. Well, let's do something a little bit more complicated now. You remember on a previous video of mine I made the Batman cape, and I had to make it in 6 separate parts and sand it and glue it and file it, and I'm going to do it in one whole piece on the GK3 Ultra. This thing is going to be huge. I've dropped the exposure slightly and I'm using the GK slicer. I thought I would give that a blast as I've never used it before. Now, if this prints well, which I hope it does, I have no idea how I'm going to clean something this darn big, which I guess is a bit of a problem with a darn big printer. Now, some 20 hours later, I returned to the printer, and if you look real close on the bottom right hand corner, you can see that there's been some kind of a failure in the supports. Now, as it happened here, we didn't get much of a problem with the actual model, but the failure is there nonetheless. Now, this was always one of my concerns with a big printer like this. If you're going to get a failed print, you're going to lose an awful lot of resin. But to be absolutely fair, the rest of it printed really well, and although it failed, it didn't really fail to any major extent. So this print is okay, but it could have been a complete failure. Now, getting it off the build plate was easy and simple, and I really like the way that things come off. Now, normally I would clean this with the supports in place, but my cleaning solution, which is the Gears Ultracraft Reflex bucket here from the wash station, was just way too small to clean it, and that may be part of your problem. Because if you buy this machine, you are probably going to find that your current existing cleaning solution and curing solution are just not going to be big enough if you print with this thing to your capacity. Now, I had to resort to a squidgy bottle with some clean IPA in just to get this thing cleaned, and I'm not convinced I cleaned it adequately, but I did the best I could because it wouldn't fit in my solution. I had exactly the same problem with the curing station in that it fitted in but it wouldn't rotate. So really the curing, I just had to give it a lot longer and hope for the best. So technically, what I'm trying to say here, I guess, is that when you buy a bigger printer, you're going to need to buy a bigger wash and cure station. And because I had a failure, I needed to do a screen clean, which, to be fair, this worked an absolute dream. I had no problems at all. The printer did it, and it cleaned the bottom of the vat ready for my next print. And again, let's have a quick look at that print. It's lovely. I can't really fault the quality, the detail. It all looks lovely. That failure in the corner that I spoke about, it hasn't really affected anything on this print. It could have done, but it hasn't. And if we just compare it to the one on the right that I printed in 6 parts, glued together, filled and sanded, you can see that it's made life much easier in the printing process. But that's about all for me, and I'm glad again to say that it fits the rest of the model, so scaling is good. Now, they have produced a cleaning machine. It seems a really complicated way of doing things, and they've also created their own curing machine, and I suspect that you may have to consider buying those if you're going to go to a large printer, only if you're going to be printing huge things. So what's the point in buying a large printer if you can't clean and cure the things in your current equipment? And if you're going to buy these, you're looking at adding another £550 on top of the purchase price. Now, there's a couple of things that I would have liked to have seen on this printer. I would like to have seen the ability to perform multiple exposure tests on one vat, very similar to the Saturn Ultra 4, whereby you can tweak and twiddle your settings on one print instead of on multiple prints. I have heard rumour that this is coming to the GK3 Ultra, but that has not been confirmed yet. The addition of an AI camera would have been nice to monitor the prints and also to give us the ability to do some time lapse. Unfortunately, there is no camera on the GK3 Ultra. There can be no doubt that the GK3 Ultra is a fantastic bit of kit, and it rides on the back of the Uniformation name given the GK2 as its workhorse over the last couple of years. I guess it boils down to a simple question and a simple answer. If you have a GK2, would you invest in the GK3? And that, as I said in my previous video, is down to you as an individual and what you intend to do with your printer. If you're going to be printing big stuff, and I'll draw you back to my cape where I had to put it all together in bits and pieces, sand it down. It was a long-winded job. If you're going to be building stuff this big all the time, then as you saw, the GK3 Ultra certainly makes the process a lot easier. If you're only going to be printing the smaller stuff, an investment in a GK3 Ultra compared to a GK2, I would suggest if you've already got one of these, then the value in buying one of these probably isn't there. But again, like anything, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to advise you what to do. It is your choice as the consumer. Personally, I wouldn't buy the GK3 Ultra, and as much as I've found it useful to print in one piece something like this, I can print it just as easily in the Uniformation GK2, but with a little bit more work. And I've been really happy with my GK2. I'll be really interested to know what you guys think of this. Would you buy one? Have you bought one? Has it been a good experience, a bad experience? Have you upgraded from the GK2? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to support the channel in any way, please just hit the subscribe button down there. Think about joining the Greedy 3D Patreon. We'd love to have you on board. And thank you to my patrons. You guys are marvellous. And if you want to buy the GK3 Ultra or the GK2, I'll put an affiliate link down below. Now, the only way this channel makes any money at all is through affiliate links, and I don't try to sell stuff to you. I don't mind if you buy it from somewhere else. It's not about that. But if you want to help the channel just a little bit and you buy it through the affiliate link, a tiny bit will kick back to the channel and just help me carry on doing stuff like this for you guys. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you found it useful. Let me know what you think. See you next time.